people I've met, and they were amazing tales with famous people and great places that people usually pay millions to, save their whole lives to go visit. I'm doing it in the weekend, every weekend, here and there and everywhere, and I return home, and the people were like, well, how did you do that? How did you afford any of this? And it wasn't until I was actually questioned that I even gave that any consideration. Oh, I didn't even know I was doing something, I just, once it was questioned of me though, then I started to wonder, well, how did I do that? And what was it? And so I started to outline a database, this whole concept of synchronicity. And at that point, the Celestine prophecies came out, James Redfield. And when that was outlined, I said, there it is. This is exactly what I'm doing right here. So if you ever need a method, I am a minister of the Celestine prophecies.
Me too. Me too. It changed my life.
Yes, absolutely.
That's phenomenal.
And it all comes down to being foolish enough and childlike enough. I never
childlike, yes.
Childlike.
Good example of slack magic, because when you're doing it right, people will conceive you as a fool.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because the fool is the first path of the magician. And if there was a good example I could think of someone who's practicing slack magic without knowing it, would be Forrest Gump.
Yeah, he would be our Messiah.
Yeah,
sure.
He just wanted to doing, what
That's
made him.
That's a great example. Yeah.
And he came out the winner. He was a Fortune 500 CEO.
And what did he
met the
say?
president several times.
What did he say when they brought up that he was a millionaire?
Oh, they said
just one less thing.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about money anymore. And he goes, well, good. That's one less thing.
There was no ego involved, It was just, okay, well, yeah, so I don't have to worry about it. When so often these multimillionaires are given some sort of credibility just for the fact that they've made all this money, we're giving them false glorification, when the whole idea of being able to release yourself from the ego, even having multi-million dollars and not thinking yourself any different than anyone else around you. This is another spell within the money spell, is that elitism, where people think that they have some sort of value sociologically because they have money, and this is usually quite the opposite. But so you release yourself from that. You look to the Celestine prophecies and you find that we all have own knowledge. People all learn how to be psychic vampires at child's age. And so you start to confront your own control dramas, be that you turn aloof and hide yourself and demand people to give you their attention, or you become erratic or an interrogator where you're constantly barraging other people to suck their energy. And the whole reason that we have become these psychic vampires, and each and every one of us has the psychic vampirism trait, is because this true beauty of life has been removed from our system. And as we drive down our streets, we see nothing but corporate monstrosities that look like plastic Lego buildings with both primary colors staring us in the face. We've lost all sense of beauty and worth, and so then without this beauty to build our souls with, flowers, life, love, dancing, we then supplant that by sucking energy out of other people. And this is where the true ego comes into play, because that's where your psychic vampirism starts to come out. Synchronicity put me in front of this microphone. I did not choose to come here. And the only reason I stay on the air is because lovely people tell me how wonderful it is to hear me. I have no ego involvement in this thing whatsoever. I did not have a soapbox that I was hoping to stand upon and shout to the heavens. I simply had a tale to tell and a wonderful, miraculous events in my life that I think should be shared. And it turned out the rest of the world wanted to hear this as well. And so the only reason I keep going is because people keep telling me how much they love me. And that's the difference in how we get put into a particular category of soapboxers. People think that you're talking because you want to attack an enemy, you want to make yourself appear superior in knowledge or whatever. With Jamie and I, and I'm sure you guys as well, we just kind of got placed in this. It was our soul that said, hey, we got to try and share this with the people, but we're not standing on any soapboxes. and trying to create any witch hunts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
We
about
need-
a time to come together and support each other. I mean, shoulder to shoulder, eye to eye, no more pyramids, level and equal.
Well said.
Let's talk about what do you guys got planned? How are you going to spend 2012?
I couldn't see any better way of spending 2012 than to be in a big old hippie school bus and traveling the United States and parts beyond, Guatemala, Mexico, go find the Mayans. It seems that the rest of the world was right on target with us in that they donated us a bus to go. Obviously, the rest of the world wants us to do this.
Tell us about it.
Well, we're pretty excited about it. It's a big old yellow bluebird, and we're getting it all set up. We got the Wi-Fi set up for it already so that we can do live or recorded broadcasts, and we're starting what we call the Friendship Agenda. And so we have friendshipagenda.com, which is where all the wonderful people I've met in my travels have gathered together under a social network to start sharing with each other and sharing our own resources, our homes, and everything else. Because as I said, we found that we need pioneers and homesteaders. So there are those that are staying in the towns and building their gardens and having open couches for the pioneers. And then there's the pioneers who are going around sharing their love and sharing their energy with all of this and bringing energy back into the home fronts. Because a lot of times you get stagnant when you're not on your road magic trip. And unfortunately, the world doesn't know about road magic. Any traveler knows, and they will all discuss it. And, hopes and prophecies have discussed it. Anyone that's just free, home free, actually knows of the road magic and how beautiful people are and how beautiful people come into your world to share with you, and then they want your energy as well. So you fulfill the whole insights of lifting these people's energy, because that's what we got to do to get out of this situation. There's no political front that you could challenge that would do what just meeting your neighbor would do. And once this starts to grow, we plan on taking this school bus out and alerting people to themselves and promoting global block parties and to start to get the people together. And then who knows, we could end up with a massive caravan leading down to the Mayans for their winter solstice ritual on 2012.
I can't think of any better place to spend that day than that place. I mean, come on.
This whole trip just kind of grew out of an accident when we first went to England to go to the AV2 conference. We didn't know how we were going to spend a whole month there or how we were going to do it, but we just kept getting invited to lovely home after lovely home, and we could have kept going. If we didn't have to go home, we would have had homes to go to.
Now let's just be clear that we bought tickets for an entire month, to not fly back until a month later, and we had $180 in our bank. We had more homes than we could possibly have ever made it to.
Yeah, and the same went for Australia. We went to all the places that we were invited to in Australia. We could have just stayed there forever, but so we just decided to live this way. Hop on the bus and go meet everybody that had invited us in the U.S. where we could drive to. Just because they were all so cool, that's why we created the Friendship Agenda, because we would get there and then they would tell us everything they knew, and because no one's talked about stuff. I'm so glad you guys are here. But we're like, well, we have 20 other people in your town that are on the same tip that you need to get together with, because we're not going to be here forever. So we made this website so everybody could get in touch with each other locally.
See, money breeds this concept of elitism that you can demand things of people. So on a friendship agenda or friendship as a currency, then no longer do you have commanding powers, but have to somewhat submit yourself to the needs of the friend you're with.
That's incredible.
And you find out things that you never could have even thought of. So that's the critical ingredient, is we're limiting ourselves to only what we can conceive. And the magicians or sorcerers in charge are limiting what we can conceive, even limiting words in the dictionary, which was written by Freemasons, to limit the concepts that you can hold in your mind. This very limitation has to be broken, and you have to be the fool. You have to feel foolish, and that's like anathema of this current social structures, you can't not know. Schools right now, what the kids do is just blurt out any answer because I don't know is not an answer and makes you a fool. That's how they cover up chemtrails, because everybody says, oh, well, it's just this. They will form their own answer to it and then believe it. And this brings me back to food again, and corporations, and rainbow. Out at the rainbow gatherings, now every day we've got to decide, and Einstein said the only thing that kills brain cells is making decisions. This is why he only had one suit. He didn't want to have two. And every day we're forced into constant decisions. Where will I eat today? How am I going to feed myself? What do I need? When you go to Rainbow, you find that your food needs are all met. And I have literally witnessed people begin to shake and shiver and just quake to the floor as the trauma leaves their bodies and they don't know what's going on. But the truth of the matter is they've never felt secure before. And when you have all of your food needs met without any questions or doubts or making of decisions, then you just suddenly relax. And none of us relax, ever, until you're put into a position. So let's say that Rainbow met reality, the real world, and you walked out your door and there was your neighbor cooking up some great pizza or lasagna, and you didn't have to decide on what you were eating. You were fed this lullaby that your whole creativity is there, because all you have is your time for creativity.
That makes me cry a little bit. That would be fantastic.
Wouldn't it?
I was thinking it's weird because we went to the conference in Philadelphia, and one of the first speakers was Jay Parker, an ex-Illuminati satanic ritual abuse victim. So here he is talking about satanic ritual abuse, and he goes through his spiel, and then he starts talking about solutions, and he brings up this one book called Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. They quote, have you heard of this book?
Yeah.
I read this in my early 20s, and I always thought it was kind of weird because he glosses a little bit over the elite and how they try and control the food and all this stuff. But I just thought that was so interesting because if you want to talk about satanic ritual abuse, just look at the food you're eating, right? And you're self-abusing yourself every day when you make bad decisions about what you're putting in there. And you know, the one of the first rules of magic is know thyself. You know, you can see this on the portico over in the temple to Delphi. Know thyself. And so how do you know what you are? That's why we want to make this eat crap, and they want us to eat cows so that we can act like cattle. The food control is a transitional thing because what they want is to have you chip, you know, the whole transhumanist movement, because they want you to have a brain chip. And this reminds me of this cattle farmer describing his cattle. He had all his cattle linked up with chips, right? And so he goes to the wall, he flips a button, and half of the cows go moo, and they stand up and they walk over to where they're supposed to be milked at. And he flips another button and they go moo, and they just do whatever he wants. And so this is the goal of the elite. It's not body enhancement, it's just more social control.
Yeah, flip a switch.
It is a dark, dark topic, and honestly, I've never been more frightened than when I studied trauma-based mind control. But once you start to see it, then you see it's in everything, and to the point where you watch a Britney video, and she's speaking on butterflies and what was the robots. You remember the end of the Britney video, and then you go to Fritz Springmeier's How to Create a Totally Undetectable Mind Control Slave.
In the newest video, she's wearing a Mickey Mouse t-shirt, and then at the end she's giving a press conference, and this guy comes up and hands her some seashells. And
Like random, right?
Yeah. I like seashells. She switches.
As if she'd been triggered.
Right, and leads her off the stage, like, shut up now, right? And the seashell. So I went and looked at Fritz Springmeier's book. I looked it up, and it said that they use this for scaring the victims because they tell them that plants and seashells can hear everything you do, and they're going to relay it back to the programmer. So you're always being watched, basically.
Book written long before this video was ever made, defining seashells used in the exact method that they use it in the Britney video to scare her to shut up because she's up on a newsstand podium. And when you start to know, you can watch Heroes. You go watch the Butterfly Effect. This is one now, if people want to truly understand what Hollywood stars need to go through, and what many of these trauma-based rituals, satanically, ritually abused children go through, you watch the Butterfly Effect. Now, I want to say that some of this concept going into magic has to deal with creating a moon child, which is something that the people like Jack Parsons of Jet Propulsion's laboratory was into. Trying to create a moon child. You get into my studies on Anna Nicole's baby and my belief that she was a moonchild ritual. Well, Aleister Crowley's book, known as Moonchild, is subtitled The Butterfly Net. And it is trauma of and then trying to invoke a god form into the child, which is also the Kane Chronicles of Walt Disney's The Red Pyramid, same story, trying to put a god form into a child. And this was trying to make the child a willing recipient so that she'll get augmentation of these spiritual powers. So when you go and watch Ashton Kutcher, who is a known Kabbalist, performed a Kabbalist wedding with his wife Demi Moore. So realize where Hollywood is. Realize that also Ashton Kutcher is working out at the gym, getting ready for the end of the world. The belief patterns that these people are in because they're the ones programming you. And you watch the Butterfly Effect, and step by step, if you were to read How to Create Your Undetectable Mind Control Slave by Prince Greenmeyer, step by step, it is the movie The Butterfly Effect. So go and put yourself through the atrocity of actually watching this movie, and then understand that this is the mentality that is creating pop culture.
The Moonchild rituals is something that when I brought up Beyonce's pregnancy unveiling earlier was the first thing I thought of as well, just the general excitement of everyone involved. And gee, I wonder.
Interesting theories about Beyonce because she's had the most interesting career. Like I see her as the new high priestess in Hollywood. So it's like move over Madonna. There's a new high priestess. Her name is Queen Bee. And she comes from a group called Destiny's Child. Dad was her manager, that old chestnut, right? But then she also has some weird phenomena with the Obamas, right? She's singing At Last My Love Has Come Along at Obama's inauguration.
Oh, that's right. What's up with that?
Well, I don't know. If they can bring back Akhenaten, why not his wife Nefertiti?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Make
where I
her
was
the queen of
going.
the pop world.
That's where I was going,
who
even
was
with the baby and the kind of rise of Beyonce. I mean, like from the outsider perspective, when people are just looking at it as media, they say, oh, it's because of Jay-Z, but who is Jay-Z as well? We understand that he is very involved as well with the Illuminati. So you put the two together, and then you put together all the different rituals that Beyonce has been a part of, coming right up to this unveiling of the baby, and at the end of the show, popping open her belly to show everyone what she's showing.
So as if the Pharaoh
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to say Christ, but I didn't want to give it that.
When you think of all the resonators they put on her, that's a word that Steve Wilner likes to use when they use a celebrity in a role. Like, let's say Keanu Reeves is Jesus, and then he's always resonating that Jesus, right? Have you heard of that?
Yep.
So they pretty much made her everything. She's been Isis, she's been the evil robot from Metropolis, she's been the whole Babylon. All these resonators they're putting on her, I can't think of a single female deity that they haven't dressed her up as, right?
And
That's right, yeah.
And the Black Madonna has even deeper esoteric meanings of the Jesuits, and I'm reading some books on that right now. I haven't really got to the end of the whole Black Madonna story, but it seems to me like it'd be Isis.
Magdalena.
Yeah. But I just...
Who is that baby's daddy?
Well, Jason said that he was a reincarnated Egyptian priest.
That's
at
right.
one time, I think.
So we start to see who the elite are and what they actually think about. That's the critical thing. It doesn't matter if any of it's true. They believe it. And most people just don't see. That's where I have a disconnect with the rest of society. Is where I don't see where I disconnect with the rest of society. I don't understand. I wish people would tell us, instead of just saying you're a fraud or a shill, tell me why. Your reality, because I have some hard-bound science that I'm following, and so far it all follows suit. I mean, with the Obama situation and the idea of me calling him a clone of Akhenaten, and then he's battling a papist, Akhenaten Satan, when they come out and say they have Akhenaten's DNA along with Queen T, Nefertiti, and the two daughters, then they announce that they're not going to allow human cloning on any country. He says he's from Krypton and sent here to Sigurd. And then you follow this all up with the head scars, where it seems that Akhenaten's cone has been removed. To me, the statement is out there, the hypothesis, but then the evidence just keeps piling in, and it doesn't detract, it doesn't dissuade. It's all right there. It actually fits. So where is the disconnect?
I'm with you on that for sure. People all notice that there's a global elite, or people that are a tier above the rest of us, and they don't really question how they got that power. Everyone thinks it was just money. But where did that money come from? How did they incorporate it all together to begin with? And I think that it all comes back to their understanding of magic and their understanding of the older esoteric teachings. That meanwhile they've been beating it out of us, by showing us movies and video games and all that, saying that's fiction. You're not able to do any of that stuff. We're going to do it all behind closed doors, though, and just not tell you about it.
Yeah. It's funny to me that when you try and talk about Princess Warrior programming, people don't really understand what you're saying, but this is as old as Barbie and G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
They were the original military and princess, and so it's been 50 or 100 years of this programming, but I don't understand why people can't see it. I wish they would tell me.
Well, maybe they will. Maybe they will now. Maybe people will speak up a little bit more. I think most of the people that do speak out, though, like we've said, it's an emotional response to, feeling threatened that their beliefs aren't what they believe them to be.
Good old crumbling paradigms.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jamie, you have done some studies in regards to the Bible code. We'd love to hear about some of that.
Well, ever since antiquity, people have been obsessed with, the Hebrew version of the Bible and searching out codes. Even Isaac Newton was convinced that there was a code that he couldn't crack in it. So there's some great books written called the Bible Code and the Bible Code 2, and basically what they did was take all the letters of the 5 books of Moses, and they put them in one long string, and they found that with equidistant letter sequencing is what they call it, they could pull codes out where they cross-reference each other and dates and times, Hitler would be crossed with Nazi, or Twin Towers would be crossed with 9/11 and all this stuff. So it was interesting to me that they couldn't crack this code without a computer. And even the Bible code itself said that the Bible was written by a computer. And this made me think of, we were talking about the hermaphrodite, right? The male and female. So this, you could also symbolize this as the target, the point within the circle called the circumference. And that's, three-dimensionally, that's the phallus and the chalice, right? Or a 1 and a 0.
Yes.
But the sign of the target and the eye of Hal, correlation there.
Yeah, because South Park played on that once again. We're always amazed by Trey and Matt's knowledge of this esoteric conspiracy, but even in South Park, he has the computer as Yahweh. When you start to realize that there was a high technological past, when you look to things like the anti-Kythera mechanism, this was a device made with, I believe it was 33 gears, with gearing that, there was no possible way it could have been crafted in the age that it was found in the strata of the Earth, showing it to be thousands of years old. We have this mechanism full on with gears and differentials, and so we have to start to understand our ancient past a bit more, and that's where the elite have us, is that they have some knowledge of what occurred in our history. and we don't. And they
Yeah.
are keeping the majority of our history from us, and so we can never figure out where we came from or where we're going. But yet we have all these memes that stream up, such as Battlestar Galactica and the ideas of clones and drones, that keep returning to us, and we can see the progression of society through this transhumanism, that we are seeing clones and drones coming to the forefront, and the troubles that this will cause. We see that in movies like Moon, where you start to see how clones can be abused, or even The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which uses Lucifer as their movie icon, and makes films on Nazi worship and child labor camps. And of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger was a heavy promoter of human cloning and also a Nazi, his father even being an SS. So once again, the elite stand out alone in their belief systems and have understanding of our ancient past that will allow them to progress and know where progress is going. And then they'll simply predict and promote into us what parts of it they want us to know. And so when you start to realize things like the Bible only being able to be transcribed by a mega computer, then you can start to piece kind of this occult theological study together. Because the Bible absolutely is a deep study that shouldn't just be tossed out the window because you don't believe in Jesus. There's a lot of knowledge that is hidden inside there.
Thinking of the machine, what are the monoliths?
Yeah, the monolith's interesting because it was the first prototype of an idol. You know how the Bible describes you should not have idols. Well, the first one was actually a monolith. And so you go to Arthur C. Clarke and then the movie 2001, Stanley Kubrick's movie, this black monolith shows up at a time in history, and it changes the consciousness of the beings that are around it. So the monolith shows up, and then the first murder happened. You know, the Aboriginals or whatever, he picked up the weapon and he killed the other monkey or whatever, the Neanderthals. So this black monolith also shows up on the front website of the Temple of Set, which was Michael Aquino's church of Satan. He created the Temple of Set, and one of their logos is this black monolith. So the Temple of Set is also very highly technologically advanced. They're into, you know, Michael Aquino was the National Security Agency General. So this kind of fits in with the idea of the devil and the robotic eye. Did we talk about that before?
No, let's please do if you don't mind.
Okay, so you know that eye from 2001, HAL?
Mhm.
The red glowing eye. Well, you can see this on Walt Disney's Meet the Robinsons as the evil hat, and you see it in the Droid phone. You can see it in WALL-E as the ship. You know, the Axiom ship is the guy. Tim Burton's movie 9. It's in a Beyonce video. The Beyonce video is Lady Gaga. She's got guys dancing around with this robotic eye as their head, and some other things. Okay, so I kind of take this to mean, you know, the robotic eye of Set. So we talked last time about Horus and Set, right? And now that we're getting past the Aeon of Horus, going to the Aeon of Set, this is the new eye that you're going to be seeing instead of the eye of Ra or the eye of Horus on everything, you know, the all-seeing eye. A lot more of this red eye of Set is my theory about what it is.
That's so interesting.
Rising sun.
You go
The
down
rising sun.
You go down to Ground Zero, and right across the street from the rubble is the Hilton
Yes.
Hotel, and it's a giant black monolith as well.
And they're also